We're good? Okay. Okay, it's now 4 p.m. on August 6th, 2024. I will open our regularly scheduled Grand County Commission meeting. Present are present in chambers are Commissioners Evan Clapper, Bill Winfield, Mike McCurdy, Mary McGann, myself, Jacques Hadler, and on Zoom we have Commissioner Kevin Walker. We also have County Administrator Quinn Hall, and looks like that's it right now. All rise for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, as usual, we will start with our citizens to be heard session. If you have come here to make a comment, just raise your hand and I'll call on you in the room. You can come forward, introduce yourself, and you'll be given 3 minutes to talk. And we'll also have a second citizens to be heard session at 6 o'clock. So if there's anyone here in the chambers who would like to come forward and make comment, please raise your hand and I'll invite you forward. Yes, sir. You can have a seat at the table and there should be a microphone right there also. Yes, sir, you got it. Okay, if you guys want to, just introduce yourselves and
That's Mike. Hi, Commissioner. I'm Jackson Hopewell, lead event director for GGBY this year.
If actually, Jackson, it would be easier for us to.
Want to stand up?
Yeah, if you want to stand, you can use the.
I was going to sit after that, but I can stand over here.
Well, whatever you prefer. We just have to have you heard on camera for a recording for people online too.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah. This is Jesse Faircloth.
Jesse Faircloth. And today's conversation, one of the longest standing organizers of an event we'll be discussing, and primarily in the conservation and education coordinator for the past 7-ish years.
So yeah, I want to talk a little bit today about GGBY's history, where we're going and what we're improving this year, and how important it is to have a continuation of our permit this year. So GGBY has been officially organized since 2017. We were off for COVID during 2 years, 2020, 2021, but this will be our 6th permit through the Grand County. And what's important about 2024 is that we're transitioning to a local nonprofit. We're bringing these dollars from a national level to a local level here in Moab. Previously, we built the pit toilet out there. We've increased the parking lot, delineation of camping and parking and trail maintenance. And that is something that we look forward to continuing with the funds that are raised at this nonprofit. As well as we're increasing many aspects of the family unit and protection of minors this year. Is something that we're unwavering on, and as well as working with the Bureau of Land Management to get an exclusive permit. This is a long process, but that will give us more authority internally to manage the event. As well as with the GGBY, we bring in about 250 people, 300 people. It's not a large festival, but there's a lot of heart at our festival. It's very important to our community members who have been coming since 2008 for some of them as an unorganized renegade event. We've put in over 25,000 volunteer hours, and we have raised over $50,000. And so it's very important that we continue this tradition for our members of the 18th year. I would ask the council to approve our motion to have the permit this year, coming August 20th, presumably.
That would be our next commission meeting.
Wonderful. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions now and or over email in the future. I'm always available by phone, meeting in person, Zoom, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we usually don't use the citizens to be heard as kind of a Q&A type of situation, but I think we did receive the email from you yesterday. So I think any of the commissioners here who have any questions would be happy to reach out to you that way for sure. Yeah.
Amazing.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks. Is there anyone else in the chambers who'd like to come forward and make a statement? Is there anybody online here who is present to make public comment? It looks like we don't have anyone online. All right. quick citizens to be heard session. Let's move on. We have two department reports today. We will start with Andrea Noyes with who is the director of the Children's Justice Center. Welcome, Andrea. Yeah. Okay.
That was quick. I was not prepared. Okay. My name is Andrea Noyes, and I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Justice Center. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys about the significant developments and achievements at our center over the last year. Oops. Does this one go back? Yeah. Oh. Switch maybe, and I can use my computer. Do you guys want to do that? Sure. And we'll pull up my computer. Okay, yeah. We're gonna switch it. Sorry, since I'm. That's just say I can do mine.
Okay. We're gonna, all right, let me, so we are going to actually start with our Canyonlands Airport Department report, and that will be presented by Tammy Howland, our airport director. Yeah.
All right. Oh. Just kind of spoiled. Hello, my name's Tammy Howland. I'm the airport director, and I'm here to give our department report. Do you know why this is skipping ahead? Let's see if that'll work. So I'm just gonna kind of start off where we left off last year. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. So who is CNY? It's we're more than just a county department. We are, you know, a kind of a living, breathing thing, if you will. We consist of our customers and our passengers, but we also have many businesses that operate out of CNY. I have a bunch of them. Their logos on the page here. We have hangar owners and renters, general aviation users, but also we're critical for our military, our medical services, and for first responders. We get a lot of medical flights that come in and out, and we're a big fuel point for military. Also, we work very close with the BLM, really close with the FAA and the TSA, and obviously the airlines. We have 7 full-time Grand County employees and 1 part-time. Myself, I'm the airport director. I'm also aircraft rescue firefighter, EMT, airport security coordinator, and a bunch of other things on that list. We have an assistant to the director, Tara Collins, and then we have 2 airport operations shift leads, and they fill in and kind of keep the airport running when I'm busy doing other things. We have 2 operations technicians. We kind of split things into airside, landside. Airside's has to do with all the aircraft, landside's like the terminal, the parking, all those aspects of the airport, the security of the terminal. What's happened, these are some of the incidences that we've had at the airport. We've had bird strikes, one emergency, aircraft landing, 2 airplane crashes. So we stay pretty busy. We don't just mow the weeds and clean the toilets. We stay pretty busy with, actual incidences, with security and aircraft emergencies. In 24, thankfully, we haven't been as crazy in 24. So to date, we've only had 3 disabled aircraft, 2 fuel spills, 1 suspicious package. Those are people leaving either backpacks or packages around the airport unattended, and leave the airport. So we don't know what's going on with them, and it turns into an incident. With the heat this year, we've had 1 aircraft actually sink into the asphalt, and 2 vehicle incidences in the parking lot and 1 bird strike. Things that have happened this year. Contour Airlines started in February. We installed a water tank for our firefighting capabilities. This doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is. We don't have fire hydrants and things like that at the airport. So to have 20,000 gallons of water available to fill our fire truck is a pretty big deal. Something we didn't have before. We would have to wait for Moab Valley to come out and refill our fire truck. So that was a big addition for us. We had a private hangar built last year. We also hosted our live fire prop that we're required to do every year, and I'm going to show some pictures later on. We did an airport layout plan update. Red Tail Air started their scheduled flights to Salt Lake City. And we had our required triennial exercise, where we include all of our responding agencies in the county to a mock incident at the airport. And it is a pretty intense thing to have to plan for every 3 years. So it tests our capabilities and shows us where we need to improve. We did some maintenance on our 1940s era beacon tower. It was exciting to us, but to the layperson, it might seem a little corny to add in here. And then we had another hangar, a private hangar, start construction this year. So we're still working on this tank. We're going to get it painted and make it look nice, but we were creative and we got a hold of a used frac tank and was able to pipe it in and essentially create a fire hydrant with it. This is a hangar that was built last year by Laurel Cotto and Dr. Ken Lord. Dr. Ken Lord flies here from St. George. Is it once a month? He flies his entire crew out here and he does eye surgeries over at the hospital. So he provides an essential service for our community, and he's able to house his airplane while he's here. This is the live fire I was talking about. This is a requirement that we have to do once a year. It rotates around the state between 4 airports. Last year was the first year that we hosted it, so we were pretty excited about that. The advantage to this is we actually get to use our equipment on our airfield and prepare for these events. Our ALP, I won't go too far into that, but this is the airport layout plan. This is where we identify how we want to grow. It identifies where we're at now. Things in the yellow are the yellow and the blue are our future areas. This 24-page document that lists out all the facts and specs of the airport that are essential for our projects moving forward. And like I said, Red Tail Air was able to provide a scheduled flight twice a week to Salt Lake City to help alleviate the shortcome of losing that flight. And in 24, we have another hangar being built. Oh, I got that in the wrong order. Sorry, guys. Taxiway Alpha One relocation project will be this year. Also, it's time for us to do our selection of engineers and planners of record. And we are going to replace our drive-through gate. And this is the Contour Airline inaugural flight. We did a fence project. The outline in purple is 10,320 some linear feet of fencing that we were able to add in to replace a significant amount of 40-year-old fence. By bringing in our lines, we saved hundreds of thousands of dollars on fencing. This is our triennial event. As you can see, there's all of our responding agencies. They come out to the airport. We used a bus to simulate the aircraft, and we had actors for patients, and we do run through the full scenario right up until we're transporting to the hospital. This is the Beacon Tower. If you're out there often, it's quite a significant change. We did also upgrade the lights other than the beacon light itself, but we upgraded the obstruction lights to LED, which is great because every time a bulb burns out, we have to climb this thing and change it. So hopefully the LEDs will keep us from having to do that as often. The Alpha One relocation project, I won't go into too much detail of this. This is a mandated project from the FAA, kind of left over from our runway upgrade. We have to do this before we can move on to any of our other projects. Our selection of consultant engineers, this is a requirement from the FAA. Every project must have a sponsor, or the sponsor, which is Grand County, must select an engineer and a consultant of record. And rather than doing that for every project, we opt to do a 5-year selection of one consulting firm and one engineering firm for the last 28 years, give or take. We've had the same company, Armstrong. So we'll see this year who puts in for it. I have had some other companies contact me, so we might have some other bids this year. Sorry, proposals. There's no bidding. This is just a select us. We want to, do your projects for you. There's no money involved in it. They get their money from the projects when we do them. This is the private hangar that's currently being built. And in fact, this picture's old already. I just took this the other day. They've got it completely covered. So you'll see that from the road when you go by. Our gate replacement. We received a FEMA grant for security upgrades for upgrading our physical security of the airport. As you can see in here, the gate we have is not all that secure, and it's been run into twice now, and so it doesn't operate as well as it should. The picture in the bottom corner there is the style of gate we'll replace it with, and this is a 100% covered by FEMA grant. So we will be starting that project sometime this summer once the gate's built. Put a little graph in here for our enplanements. 2022 is the blue enplanements. Green is 23, and 24 is the purple. As expected, those employment numbers are down for 2024. With the rollout of the new airline, less seats, new airline just equals until they can get their brand out there and get established as a service for Moab. Those numbers are just going to continue to increase as that recognition gets out and the service is used more. Employments are anyone buying a ticket and leaving Moab. And those employments count towards how much federal money we receive from the FAA. And our magic number is 10,000 employments for a calendar year. And since 2017, we've been able to hit that goal. That bumped us up into a higher bracket for federal funding. So I just and employments for 2023 were 24,365. And that includes more than just the commercial airline. That's Red Tail's flights. Any of their commercial operations count as our employments as well. So they're counted in there. Our skydive flights, however, do not count as our employments. But if you look, that's a significant chunk of traffic at the airport. Or we have almost as many skydivers as we do passengers leaving Canyonland. So those are good, strong numbers, and those just continue to increase every year.
What is the 2024 numbers up to, like the end of July, Tammy, or
Yes, and sorry, end of June.
end of June? Okay.
End of
Gotcha.
June.
So halfway through the year, basically.
Yep. So we're halfway through. I'm very confident we'll hit our 10,000 mark. Obviously we won't hit we won't exceed our employments from last year, but we'll easily hit our 10,000 mark and maintain our funding. And Skydive, they're already at 10,000. So they're doing really well.
So that puts them on course to be about the same as last year.
Yeah. Yep. Unless we have a really good fall and then they could potentially exceed that, but
Is
I
that
think
just commercial skydiving, or is it all?
yes,
Okay.
that's just commercial. That's people paying to go skydive.
Yes. Got it.
Yeah, that's not, the guys around town that go out and
Right.
and pay Keith to take them up.
Okay.
So, why do we have our airport? It's more than just being able to go and get on a plane and fly somewhere else. We have our airplane tours, which, gosh, there's no better way to see this area than from an airplane as well. And we also offer helicopter tours, skydiving, balloon tours, in private aircraft. We have a strong base of private aircraft and would love to grow those numbers. We also provide maintenance for folks traveling in their airplanes. If they need oil, fuel, any kind of repairs, those are offered by Red Tail. And like I said earlier, we're a big stopping point for military folks to come and get their fuel when they're traveling across the country. And, very importantly, we offer a place for life flights. It's not just helicopters. We have even more what they call fixed wing life flights. That's an actual airplane to fly in, and folks that get injured here in Moab, they need to be taken to a bigger hospital, or just they're not able to get on a commercial flight and fly home. We offer a place for those flights to come in and help out. And this is some pictures of why CNY is awesome. Every day there's something different. And everybody that works at the airport loves what they do. And it's a interesting place to be. I encourage everybody to come out and check out your local airport. if you know someone that's a pilot, get them to take you up in the airplane. They love to do that. And that's all I have. Hopefully I kept it close to 10 minutes.
Perfect,
A
Tammy.
little
Thank
bit
you.
over, but
Definitely appreciate it. That was great.
and then, yeah, we have a website and Facebook page.
Awesome. Any questions or comments for Tammy?
Go, Tammy.
Thank you.
All right, then we are ready for Andrea. You want to welcome back, Andrea?
Right, put you on the spot. Alicia, do you want me to plug into like an HDMI? How do you want me to do this? Or just from your email? Yeah.
No worries.
I was hoping this was part of my 10 minutes and then I had to present. Oops. Just open it. Oh my goodness. It's okay. We'll just do it off yours, just if you want it. And that would be fine. It's fine. We'll use, okay, we'll use yours. Yeah, it's fine. It is totally fine.
Cheers.
Yes. Okay. That will work. Can I slideshow my video? Or does it need to be online? I think you could. Okay, slideshow. We'll improvise. That works. It'll work. Here's my side.
I can't see it.
Grant County Commissioners and distinguished public attendees, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. It is an honor to showcase the incredible work happening at the Grant County Children's Justice Center. The Children's Justice Center is a beacon of hope. It serves children and families in crisis. Our center is designed to feel like a home. It provides a comforting environment for those dealing with the trauma of abuse. We aim to create a safe space for healing. We offer a range of services to support families. This includes forensic interviews, medical examinations, trauma-focused mental health services, crisis intervention, advocacy support, referral services, and education and prevention programs. Our goal is to address the immediate needs of the child and family. We work closely with law enforcement and child protective services. Our center has a profound impact on the community. We help reduce the trauma experienced by children. Families receive the support they need to navigate difficult times. This strengthens the community as a whole. We connect families with essential resources. This includes therapy, medical expertise, support programs, and educational programs. We guide each family through the healing process. Our network of resources is extensive and tailored to individual needs. Our dedicated staff and volunteers are the heart of our center. They are trained to handle sensitive situations with care. Their commitment ensures that every child and family receives the best possible support. They work tirelessly to foster a nurturing environment. The Grand County Children's Justice Center is more than a facility. It is a lifeline for families in crisis. We are here to support, heal, and empower. Together, we can make a difference.
So that's a little bit about the center. The function of the Children's Justice Center is to reduce trauma of the child abuse investigation process and help the children feel safe to reveal the truth. Here are a few things that I've been up to over the last year. I facilitated the separation of the Children's Justice Center programs for Grand and San Juan counties. I developed a comprehensive transition guide to help San Juan establish a solid foundation for their independent center and trained Robert Neiman to serve as the new director of the San Juan County Children's Justice Center. I established a fully incorporated nonprofit organization, the Friends of the Children's Justice Center, to supplement county funding through donations and fundraisers. This organization is designed to support the vital work being carried out at the center. The CJC has formed an active advisory board that convenes quarterly to collaborate on goals aligned with our collective commitment to the community's well-being. Here's a photo of some of our esteemed members whose expertise and insight are instrumental in guiding the direction of the Children's Justice Center. Over the past year, I've closely collaborated with the school district, serving as a consultant on their Prevention and Wellness Committee. My efforts have focused on increasing the visibility of the Children's Justice Center within the school system. I've worked with staff to educate them on mandated reporting and strategies for ensuring child safety. Additionally, I have represented the Children's Justice Center at various events, including the school carnival and the Beacon Halloween Fair, to name a few. The Children's Justice Center has joined 2 sexual assault response teams serving both Grand and San Juan counties to expand our services and enhance our service delivery. Additionally, the Children's Justice Center has been actively traveling to White Mesa in an effort to build relationships and trust with the Navajo Nation to ensure services are available. I have had the privilege of developing and facilitating training sessions and workshops for community members, medical personnel, law enforcement officers, and other first responders. These sessions cover best practices in supporting survivors of abuse and are crucial for improving our response to child abuse cases. I am honored to have been recently nominated by the Utah Attorney General's Office to chair the Victims' Rights Committee for the 7th District, representing Emory, Carbon, Grand, and San Juan counties. As the newly appointed chair, I'm committed to representing our counties with compassion and ensuring that victims feel supported and heard. Another significant project the CJC has undertaken in the past year is the establishment of linkage agreements with local mental health professionals. We now have 10 active partnerships with therapists providing services to our children. The Grand CJC is dedicated not only to offering care for our children, but also ensuring that they receive the highest quality of care. The CJC had the privilege of representing Grand County at both the International Conference on Child and Family Maltreatment in San Diego and also in Washington, D.C. During my time in Washington, I had the opportunity to meet with Senator Mitt Romney and Representative John Curtis to discuss the Crime Victims Fund Stabilization Act and the Victims of Child Abuse Act. I provided information and addressed questions that our representatives had regarding the work of the Children's Justice Center. This overview presents the number of children served by the Grand County Children's Justice Center 1 year before my tenure began. That's column yellow that you see January of 2022 through December of 2022. It's important to note that these numbers are collective for both Grand and San Juan counties. Then in January 2023 to December of 2023, this is my full year serving with the Grand CJC. Again, it's important to note that those numbers are both collective for Grand and San Juan counties. As you can see, we've had the opportunity to almost triple the amount of of people receiving services at the Grand County CJC. And finally, the third column is our numbers from January 2024 through July 2024. These are our numbers for Grand County only now that we've separated. We are scheduled to, as you can see, last year we significantly increased the number of community members receiving services at the center, more than tripling our previous figures. Thus far this year, we're on track to surpass that accomplishment. Go ahead.
And just one thing to note, Andrea still continues to provide services to San Juan County. We don't mark the credit for it, but she still reaches out. She provides support to the CJC director down there because, as you guys know, San Juan took that over this year, and she's provided a tremendous amount of help and support to Robert, who's in that position. So that won't be reflected on those numbers, but it's a service that is exceptionally helpful to San Juan County, and it kind of goes unmarked, but it's excellent work.
Yep, thank you. My future goals revolve around enhancing our center's ability to provide comprehensive and compassionate care to every child who walks through our doors. I aim to expand our outreach programs, ensuring that we reach more families in need and offer them support and resources necessary for healing and justice. Collaborating closely with law enforcement, social services, mental health, and healthcare professionals, I envision building stronger networks of support to streamline the investigative and recovery process for child victims of abuse and violence. The CJC continues to play a vital role in bringing forward services and opportunity for our community. One project I'm currently working on and particularly passionate about is bringing Corey Joel Jensen to Moab. The CJC would like to draw on Corey's experience in the field of sex offenders to educate community members about the extent of the problem, common grooming tactics, problems associated with traditional prevention programs, talking to parents about abuse, practical child and family rules for safety, and responding to disclosures of abuse and reporting. The Attorney General's office has indicated the availability of one-time funds that could potentially be donated to Grand County for constructing a new center to serve our families and children. While I'm deeply grateful for the center we have now and appreciate the county's support, we face challenges in providing the privacy our families deserve. Children trust us with sensitive disclosures of abuse, and despite efforts such as soundproofing, shared facilities with the Family Support Center compromise confidentiality through the HVAC system. Moreover, with the increase in current caseload, including the fantastic job the ICAC team is doing in response to catching predators, we are outgrowing our current space. I've been working relentlessly to explore solutions to address these challenges with minimal financial impact on the county. A promising option involves Grand County providing a small parcel of land, leveraging the Attorney General's office generous offer to partially fund a new facility. This initiative could result in a brand new infrastructure to serve the children and families of our community without having to foot the entire cost. This new infrastructure would provide the privacy and space the families in our community deserve. With the possibility of these one-time funds on the table, I'd like to kindly ask if the commission would be open to me doing some additional research on what the project of building a new facility using these gifted federal funds would entail. I aspire to implement best practices within our center, fostering an environment where children feel safe, heard, and empowered to reclaim their lives. Ultimately, my aim is for Grand County to lead by example in setting a national standard of excellence in child advocacy and protection, ensuring that every child in Grand County receives the care and justice they deserve. That's what we've been up to. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Anyone have a question for Andrea right now? Bill?
Got a quick one. You mentioned federal funds, or you said AG's office. Is that state or?
Yeah,
federal?
so it's actual federal funds that are one-time funds. There's $5.2 million that were federally allocated funds to the Utah Attorney General's office, specifically meant to build out the 26 CJC's infrastructures. The funds are kind of like a use it or lose it funds, and they have to be spent within 2 years. So the project timeline would be really rapid. They have to be spent by June of 2026. And so I've met with Tracy, who is the director of the Children's Justice Center at the AG's office. She said she'd be willing to donate some of those funds to Grand County as part of that infrastructure build out project. One of her major concerns, not concerns, but she said that she would like to see Grand County also have buy-in to the project and propose a parcel of land be donated so that they can help fund the infrastructure.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Mary, you had
I met with Tracy. It sounds very exciting too, that we have the possibility of getting that funding. Are you working with any specific person in the county to help facilitate moving that along and maybe finding a piece of property?
I haven't necessarily yet, because I wanted to kind of get permission to see if you guys were okay with me exploring that option before I moved forward in doing that. But I am interested in definitely utilizing these funds. That could be an opportunity to build out our infrastructure and not be a cost to our taxpayers, but be able to have a benefit of this building for our kiddos. One of the biggest things that I wanted to move forward is looking at possible, meeting with planning and zoning and seeing if there's possible land that could be used for that venture.
We put it on a high priority today on our
Perfect.
doing our priorities. So
Okay.
it's up there.
Yay.
So
I appreciate that.
I just want to make sure so often projects like this, you need a focused person or
someone to spearhead it.
spearhead it. And so let us know if you need help.
Okay. I appreciate that so much.
Great. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our department reports. We have no agency reports today, so we'll move on to our general reports, and we will start with, as usual, with commission member disclosures. Is there any member of the commission who needs to disclose anything concerning today's agenda? All right, it looks like there is not, so we will move on to general commission reports and future considerations, and I would start over on the other side of the dais with Commissioner Clapper.
The end of the month was quiet for me. I had an opportunity to get out of town for a little summer vacation with my son. I think the most exciting stuff that I have to report is the Government Performance Results Act regarding the Hell's Revenge Trailhead. Results came back. That was basically a visitor satisfaction survey that was conducted up at Sand Flats, which is kind of about maps, facilities, user experience management, that kind of stuff. And they got a 98% score on that, so that was very good. So kudos to them and kind of ensuring that positive experience up there. In the EMS world, there's been some exciting calls. There was actually a crew that was able to reach return of spontaneous circulation, and a few days later, the patient walked out of the hospital under their own support. So as much as you see it in the movies where CPR works all the time, it's rare that people recover that quickly to a level of walking around. So kudos to those guys. And it's fire season, so there's some EMTs that are out at the Spears fire and kind of responding other places in the state, and that's a revenue generating thing for that department. So it's nice that, as much as I don't wish that they're needed, it's nice for them to be able to capitalize on some revenue and be able to assist, and they're in high demand because their quality is so good. So that's all I got.
Great, thanks, Evan. Bill?
Attended a couple of meetings. I started off with the Grand County Recreational Special Service District. I sat in for Mike on that. They had several things coming out of the fair. One of them is the fact that it seemed like our staff was fairly overworked. And they were hoping for more volunteers next year, and they had a request to, we had talked a little bit about a fair board.
Yeah, that's right.
We need that for our employees' sake to help get the volunteers organized and set up there. They had very positive feedback regarding the fair with just a few minor complaints. Let's see, they are looking for a bookkeeper, and that's a paid position.
That's for the rec district
For
itself,
the
yeah.
rec district itself, it amounts to about 500 a month for somebody skills right in there. Just back to the fair a little bit, I was only able to attend one day at the fair there, but I did get to see some kid down the mud and busting.
That's good stuff.
Finally took him off. They couldn't get rid of him, so they finally pulled the kid off to get a cheap rate. It was a lot of fun. So then, let's see, the audit committee, we went through the process of determining to set up for our financial advisor, and that's a company out of Salt Lake City, Forbes. Let's see, then we had, I had a meeting to follow up over the Mud Springs. Just determining some things as far as the schedule and everything for when some of that might start happening there. Took care of getting the check from San Juan County to Grant County to make that happen. And then Lane Gisler wanted me to make sure that all commissioners knew that she's very appreciative of the fact that we had moved that long and taken that over to see that project continue. I was also at the tripartite board meeting with the group up in Price. Their risk assessment score came out extremely high this year. They were very happy with that. It's, I guess, so for us board members.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job up there. A highlight of that one. Let's see, I'm also working with a few of the commissioners, Mary and Jacques, on the admin position hiring committee. Then I just wanted a little note. I know that there was I forget what it was even called, where we did the interties with all of the water systems, Webb City, WISA, and San Juan County. And WISA had a water issue last week that they just wanted to make note of the fact that if we hadn't had that intertie with San Juan County, that their customers would have been literally without water. They were extremely appreciative that that intertie had gone through. And then I was on a UAC USA CCC meeting. I can't tell you what all that stands for, but it's an upcoming legislation watch for this coming year out of UAC, and there was some discussions around watching what would happen around TRT. There were people wanting more flexibility, and so we'll see where that ends up. And supposedly a bill file has been opened up on. There was some discussion around the upcoming Olympics for the state of Utah.
When you say there were people who were interested in more flexibility with tier two, do you mean other counties that were?
Other counties.
Gotcha, okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill.
And then additional discussions around the upcoming Olympics that were coming in 2034. Then we had a short meeting regarding the Spanish Valley Bike Path with Jock as part of that as well. And we started to have an airport board meeting and then postponed it back to the forum. So that's all I've got.
Thank you very much. Commissioner McCurdy?
Not to piggyback off Bill here, in continuation with the fair board, work with Trish, myself, and Alicia over here, got the bylaws lined out to Mary. They're for legal right now. That fair board will be in creation, and just like stated before, we are expecting working fair board as to help the fair as much as guide the fair in direction. End of the month was pretty slow for me, but I had a meeting today actually with Mayor Joette Legley's, City Councilman Jason Taylor. Just had a meeting today. We spoke on several topics and points. Main conversation revolved around fostering more combined efforts between city and county. And working together, in both senses, we can find projects where we can work together and, sooner than later, because the work's pretty slow, so, this is all sooner than later, projects, but, most of our actions would directly benefit, not only county and city, but we all live here together, so most of our actions in that, or most of the discussion was pointed into things we can, as city and county, we can take part and share projects, be it financial costs, be it efforts, we can tie it together because we all live here in the same county. So.
All right, thanks, Mike. Mary?
Yes, the end of the month is a quieter month, part of the month for me as well. We did have a solid waste special service district meeting, and we are closer to being able to offer some discounts to people who on low fixed incomes. So I'm very excited that's going to be happening. We're working with Chris Kaufman's office. They're dealing a lot with finding parts for machinery, and I think everybody that is dealing with large machines are finding parts or even finding a machine to buy. And like we found one machine, it was like a 2 or 3 year waiting period to even get it. So that's been very challenging, especially with all the old equipment that they have. The heat is adding a lot of stress to the workers, a lot of stress to the people that are at the landfill and the people who are collecting our solid waste. I think Elaine's husband, Elaine Gensler's husband, was always really good about when it was cold, taking out, warm things to drink for the people on the days they arrived to pick up their solid waste. And this summer, I know I've been leaving out water that's half frozen, water bottles, so that, they have something that's very cold right there with a thank you note, because I think they're one of our unsung heroes. They have a very difficult job, and oftentimes you just complain if they do something wrong, but rarely do they get a pat on the back. So everyone here in the audience and on Zoom and on YouTube, I am encouraging you to recognize the people who are serving you on the solid waste. I had an UMTRA meeting. It was very good, but I'm not going to talk about it because we're having a presentation, our first action item. So you will learn a lot about the exciting news that's happening there. We had an Economic Opportunity Advisory Board meeting. It's always a very enjoyable meeting. A lot happens. We were reviewing the Moab Community Land Trust and the work that they have been doing. And they're working both in Arroyo Crossing. They're working both on phase 1 and phase 2 concurrently. And they're also planning for phase 3. The building is just a constant roll. They're always, if you drive by there, you see things are happening all the time. As soon as one project, even before one project is done, they're starting another. We also had the follow up on the Moab Community Child Care. They've opened a new child care center at the community church, which is across the street from HMK. So that is very handy for parents. And they are working on to help become financially independent, not needing to ask for so much grants and money, although I think it's a high enough need that we should always consider helping. They're working on offering drop-in child care because they find out a lot of the calls they're getting are for people who are visiting Moab that want child care so they can do a hard hike and their kids can't do it. And so if they can do that, that's going to offer a lot of income potential. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that idea. the child care program offered 5,000 hours of support for the child care providers in Grand County that are independent, that are private. And so it's been a very successful program. The Economic Opportunity Board is going to continue to request that we continue to support them financially. I also helped on the interviews for the replacement of our commission administrator. We have some good applicants. That's my report.
Thanks, Mary. Kevin, you ready to go on Zoom?
Sure. I think most of what I have to say has either been covered in other reports or will be on the agenda later. It was a USA CCC meeting and budget board meeting, and that's about it for me in the past couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. And myself, I actually just got back from a long trip overseas where I was kind of out of communication for a little while, but I have been trying to catch up for the last week. That's always the trade-off with getting to go away is catching up with everything. Anyway, so what I've done in the last week is a couple of things that you guys have mentioned. I helped with the definitely search for the county administrator replacement, and I was also on the Spanish Valley pathway meeting with Bill where we got a really good update on that. Things are moving. It's a slow process, but things are moving forward with that. So looking forward to continuing to push that project along. All right, now we will move on to elected official reports, and I'll start with our county attorney, Stephen.
Since the last commission meeting, we had a mediation with one of the parcels that went up for appeal. That's going to proceed forward to the hearing before the tax commission. Our new juvenile court judge, Judge Cass Melisandre White, had her first case. We had a drug court or recovery court graduation. Those are individuals that participate in the recovery court, the drug court program. And we had somebody complete that, which is a wonderful thing to do and a wonderful accomplishment. Regarding our next hearing for the BRC lawsuit, again, we sent out a reminder that that's going to be on August 24th or 21st at 9 a.m. Again, if commissioners would like to attend, it's not required. You'll be represented by counsel. You don't have to say anything, but there'll be oral arguments made by both the attorneys on the summary judgment motion. In the Cane Springs development appeal, we have our brief that's being prepared for our response to their brief that they filed. And so then we'll prepare for the hearing. And then, well, that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions on those exciting topics, I know they're pretty fun. Please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Stephen. I see Sheriff Wiggins is in the house, so I would invite you forward, Jameson. Looks like you have something exciting to show us.
Sergeant Commander Brad Hines. Want to do a report on our monthly numbers for July, and we got some stuff to give out. So, see, we're in August now. In July, we served 81 papers. We had 299 traffic stops. Our arrest went up to 39. We had 8 search and rescue calls. We had 798 911 calls in the dispatch. We had 2,600 calls in the dispatch, and the deputies responded to 860 calls for service. And I'm going to just read a brief little narrative that I wrote up here. So today in the commission room, we have 2 individuals from Grant County that we want to present with some life-saving awards. So you may have seen the photo.
Yeah,
it's clear. That's Daniel. A 40-year-old man was in an inflatable kayak with his 2 sons, 8 and 10 years old, when they flipped in whitewater upstream from a popular beach near mile marker 6 on Highway 128. Guard Lossman, hopefully I pronounced that right, a Moab resident and former associate of Grant County Sheriff Search and Rescue, witnessed the accident from the beach and immediately jumped onto his paddleboard to intercept the 2 struggling boys. Osman was able to get the two boys onto his paddleboard, but was unable to get his father, lifelong Moab resident Daniel Wright. Just happened to be traveling upstream on his jet ski. Osman was able to get his attention and pointed to the father, who was still being swept downstream. Wright had actually passed within a few feet of the man, who was almost completely submerged at the time and virtually unnoticeable because of the substantial amount of high water debris. Wright spun his jet ski around and reached for the man just as he went underwater again while raising his hand in desperation. That's the photo. Moab resident Eric Odenthal snapped the photo at that moment, and Daniel pulled the father from the water and got on shore. So Sergeant Hines and I talked about this, and we decided that we wanted to acknowledge them with the life-saving award. Gar and Daniel were in the right place at the right time, and they chose to intervene in a true selfless act of heroism. So if you guys will come up here and present me with this.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jameson, and thank you our heroes too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, amazing photo. Definitely give Eric kudos for that. Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations. Put those in nice prominent places to be shown off.
All right. And now continuing with our elected official reports, we have a report from our elected treasurer, Chris Kaufman, on 2023 collections and investments. So welcome forward, Chris.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll try to keep this pretty short. I think all of you have seen these graphs and gotten this report from me in previous years. But I come to you once a year and give you a little bit of a summary of how things went with property taxes and investments for the county for the last year. So I'll start off with the property tax collections for 2023. And unfortunately, this is my first year to report that we did have kind of a drop in the property tax
Just a minute,
collections.
let's have them move down.
Yeah, give us just a sec, Chris. It's
Because
all right. You can continue, Chris. Thanks.
Sure. So we did see a fairly significant decline in the property tax collection rate, mostly due in part due to the change in commercial valuation last year that really had a significant increase for property taxes owed from some of the commercial properties. But a little bit of background, the collection rate is just the amount of tax that we collect versus the amount of taxes that we ask for. It's an important statistic each year because the State Tax Commission uses it in their calculation of the certified tax rate. Basically, the better job you do collecting your taxes, the less you have to ask for, because the state says, we know you're not going to get everything you want, so you can ask for a little bit more to try to actually hit the number that you need. And the State Tax Commission actually uses a 5-year average of your collection rate in their calculation. And this is the first time that our 5-year average dropped just slightly. It went down about 0.13%. So pretty much held steady, but a slight drop there. And what that means is that we'll have to ask for about $38,000 more in taxes in 24 than we would have with the prior collection rate. And the good news on this is that we have had many years of increasing collection rates, and so it's still relatively high. And over the last 9 years, those increases in the collection rate have saved the taxpayers about $4.3 million. So we're still doing really well on that. But last year was a tough one. As you all remember, with the increases in the valuations on the commercial properties, it was the biggest valuation increase that Grant County has ever seen. And it was just tough for some of those business owners in particular to pay their taxes. And I feel pretty confident in pointing to those reasons for the drop in the collection rate. If you look at our largest delinquent taxpayer, it was a taxpayer that owned a number of overnight rentals, and they owed at the end of the year about $288,000. If they had paid their taxes, we wouldn't have seen that drop in the 5-year collection rate, just that single taxpayer on those parcels. So, and if you look at the top 10 delinquencies, they were almost all commercial parcels that saw big valuation increases. We can also take a look at how we're doing in comparison to the other 29 counties in the state. And in 23, our collection rate was still, and here I'm talking about the 5-year average, was still the 9th highest in the state. So we're still holding steady there and in the top tier of counties as far as our collection rate. And if you look at the change in our collection rate over the last 9 years, we have the 4th highest increase of all the counties in our collection rate. So we've been working hard to try to improve that. I think that shows when we look at how we're doing compared to the other counties. Any questions on the current tax collections last year? So I'll move on to the redemption collection rate. This is just how well we did on collecting the back taxes, the delinquent taxes that we had for last year. And this is a positive story. For last year, we had about a 70% collection rate, which is really quite good. It was the 2nd highest rate we've had in the last 7 years, and an increase from the year before. We also had an increase in the total amount of money that we collected from back taxes for last year. The caveat to this is that most taxing entities actually didn't see any of that money because we had such a large number of refunds due to the to some centrally assessed taxpayers, including the Mid-America Pipeline refund, which was about $900,000. And so, unfortunately, that actually ended up in a negative amount of revenue for a lot of the taxing entities in the back tax area. But we continued to have a fairly low level of back taxes, even with the delinquencies we had last year, especially if you look at it as a percentage of all the taxes that we charged over the last 5 years. We're really only just a little bit above 1%, and in the past we've been closer to 2.5%. So still doing pretty well right there. Any questions on that back tax collections?
So are we all square with Mid-America now, or how does that?
No, that refund only covered 2 years. Yeah, a couple years. Yeah, there's still a whole lot of outstanding years. Okay. Yeah, that's still in the works, unfortunately.
So that's going to continue to affect our back taxes for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah. It depends on when we get a settlement on those other years.
Okay.
So yeah,
Right.
it can take a long time. I believe the years that we just settled were 2017 and 18 or something like that.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it can take.
Right. Thank you, Chris.
So just a few other things to report on. One thing that I pay attention to every year is how many people are paying their property taxes electronically versus coming in person to the office or sending checks in the mail. It's important to us because electronic payments are so much more efficient for our office. We don't have to open the mail and deposit the checks and enter them manually. We just download them directly into our accounting software. And so we do a lot of work to try to make sure people are aware of that option and encourage them to sign up for it. And I think people in general are just finding that to be more convenient. We did see an increase in electronic payments last year, not only in the total dollar amount that we brought in, but also in just the number of payments. And we're to the point where we've got about 20% of the total property taxes coming in electronically, and about 40% of individual payments are being made electronically. So it's really making a significant difference in my office, helping us to be able to deal with more parcels and an increasing workload with the same number of staff. Great. We also have an auto bill pay program program, where we allow taxpayers to sign up and have their property taxes paid automatically out of their account every year. Part of the reason I report on this is just to help to get the word out. It's a set it, forget it system, so it makes it so that you won't accidentally forget your property taxes and go delinquent. It'll come directly out of your account. It's more convenient for those folks who want to do it, and we did have a 16% increase in folks signing up for that this year.
16% increase to what percentage of total payers were on
It's
that
not,
program?
it's unfortunately not very high. We have about 445 parcels signed up for that. So out of about 7,000 parcels.
5% ish.
Yeah, not that much yet, but we think that as people find out about it, they'll continue to sign up for that. The next thing to talk about is the investments for last year, and this is a very positive news story. Basically, I'd like to take credit for it, but it's really mostly just interest rates rising because the Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates high to fight inflation. And so we've got basically three places that we keep the county's money. We have the Public Treasurer's Investment Fund, which is basically the state pool where we invest money in. And then we've got a separate investment with Zions Capital Advisors that's only about $3 million of our total. And then lastly, we just have the money that we keep in our bank accounts. And in the PTIF in 2023 for last year, the interest rates remained above 5% for pretty much the entire year. We also had our higher balances because the county has been adding to a lot of their fund balances over the years. And so both of those things combined really had our interest income skyrocket. So just looking at all of the funds that we have in PTIF, in 2022, we earned about $500,000, and in 2023, we earned $1.7 billion. So a really dramatic increase, but there again, it's just the math of more money to invest and the interest rates going from, less than 1% to over 5%.
Steve,
What's the total amount that we have invested for the county?
Yeah, so the end of year balance in PTIF last year was about 42 million. It fluctuates, at the end of the year, we've just brought in all the property tax money and then that gets spent, so it tends to go down from there. But that's, a rough ballpark. Yeah.
What was that number?
42 million. And I should say that's all of the PTIF accounts that we have. So that's not just the general fund. That includes every department, every fund in the county. It also includes some money that doesn't belong to the county. So when a developer pays a bond, we invest that for them and keep, earn interest on it, and pay it back to them when they
Gotcha.
bond to them. So. A similar story with our Zions Capital Advisors investment. We went from about $50,000 earned in 22 to $140,000 earned in 23. There's about 3 million in this investment. We have this investment outside of the PTIF just to diversify our portfolio. It generally has investments that are a little bit longer term than the PTIF, so we can generally get higher interest rates, but we hold on to them for longer. So it's sort of a hedge against the PTIF, which is a bit more volatile. The PTIF really responds very quickly to changes in the federal funds rates, whereas this one is a little bit slower to respond. So it does better in steady interest rate environments and falling interest rate environments, which it's likely that we're going to be entering into a falling interest rate environment coming up. Most people expect that the Federal Reserve is going to start to cut interest rates maybe even this year. But we're hoping that for the county's investments that they do that slowly over time, because it's really a benefit to those with money to invest to have those higher interest rates. Lastly, in 2022, we opened a sweep account for our checking account. So prior to that, the money that we have to keep in our checking account to cover checks was basically earning no interest. And we opened up the sweep account, which automatically moves money between the two accounts to keep that money that you have in your checking just to cover your checks invested as much as possible. And the reason we were able to do that is because interest rates came up enough that it made sense to open it. They do have monthly fees associated with it that it just didn't make sense before that. But starting in late 2022, it became obvious that that was going to be a big benefit to the county. So we opened up that account, and in 23, we earned about $75,000 in interest on that, which was on money that we normally would have earned next to nothing on. So another positive development from having higher interest rates. And any questions on the investments?
Can we go back to the Mid-America Pipeline real quick?
Okay,
We just received an email, I believe it was July 18th, and Mid-America Pipeline has filed for the year 2024
right,
against Grand County. They currently, the State Tax Commission has them at $177 million in change valuation, and they're asking for a $37 million valuation decrease for
Do you mean
2024.
billion?
What's that?
Do you mean billion on that valuation?
Yeah, yes, excuse me, billion, sorry, bigger number.
Yes,
So again, Mid-America is now worried about this year that we're not even through yet, and I'm sorry, I did ask Gabe to forward that to Debbie, and I will forward it to you. So you see, it came to the commission and to Gabe Whitehead.
yeah, I saw it as well.
Oh, did you? Okay, thank you.
So Mid-America is going to appeal every single year until the matter is resolved to protect their interests. So if they don't appeal, then they forego the ability to do that. So assume they'll appeal every single year. And then once a settlement's made, hopefully the goal would be to fix whatever it is, but they want the ability to argue for every single year that the issue goes unresponded. So it's going to continue to happen. No, it won't. It takes for a long time, and that's what Tom Peters indicated as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't know, we don't have an estimate of when we'll see the end of that issue. I wish I did. The last thing I have is that we also have a program to allow folks to sign up to receive their tax notifications via email. And we started that in 2019. The clerk auditor's office and I are both using the same system now, so that if you sign up for it, you will stop receiving your notifications in the mail, and you can get your valuation and your tax bill via email. This is totally optional for taxpayers. If that's more convenient for them, if they prefer to receive it electronically, they can go ahead and sign up for that. And we have seen a 45% increase in the number of parcels signed up for that. So went from about 367 to about 533 in 23. And, you know, for the taxpayer, it can be an advantage. And obviously for the county, it saves us resources. We don't have to print and send those paper notices to those folks anymore. We're hoping that people will continue to find that to be advantageous and continue to sign up. We're hoping to reach about 10% of the parcels within the next few years. Okay. And that's all I've got. So are there any other questions? Thank you so much, Chris. Any other question for Chris? Evan? Kudos. Yeah. Great work. I definitely appreciate the
And I
update, Chris.
really appreciate the way you present it. It makes it so that we can
Yeah,
understand.
sorry I didn't have my stuff up on the screen today.
We did get the report, and it's on the agenda. If anyone's looking at it, you can find it under the agenda. There's a treasurer's report, so it's attached, so anyone can look that up. Thank you. All right, we're on to our commission administrator report, and I'd ask our associate administrator Quinn if you have anything you want to share, Quinn.
I went to lots of meetings that everybody else went to.
Yeah.
One meeting I did go to that no one else went to is UAC finally started an administrators group, county
All right.
administrators group. So I was excited about that. We'll see how that moves on going forward.
Okay, thanks, Quinn. All right, we are now to our general business and action items, and we'll start with item number 1, Moab Uranium Mill Tailing Remedial Action Projects 2024 Annual Statement of Continued Compliance. And presenting this one is our own Commissioner McGann, as well as Liz and Barbara from the UMTRA project. Or from
Liz and
the
Barbara
DOE.
come up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let them take over and they can introduce themselves and, oh, you're not gonna come up? Okay, Barbara Michelle is gonna take a picture. So go ahead,
All right.
Liz, introduce yourself and your title and.
Absolutely. My name is Liz Moran, and I've worked on the UMTRA project for over 18 years. I am an environmental manager for the Department of Energy there. And today I'm going to review the annual statement of continued compliance per the requirements for the conditional use permit. And keep in mind that this goes from July to July. So it's for a year, but starting and ending in July. So some of the project accomplishments that we've had during this past year is, to date, we have shipped over 14.8 million tons of the 16 million tons of the tailings pile, which is really incredible. We should hit 15 million tons this October. And then we've also shipped over 151,000 tons of debris, which is mill debris that was buried in the cell back in the early 90s. And our budget for fiscal year 24 was 67 million. And some updates on Moab now. We continue to ship 4 trains a week and everything is going well. We have extracted through our interim action groundwater system over 4.8 million gallons of contaminated groundwater this year, which includes more than 9,000 pounds of ammonia and over 100 pounds of uranium. And we have injected over 2 million gallons of filtered diverted river water into the subsurface adjacent to the critical habitat to form a hydraulic barrier to protect the fish from any potential ammonia that may enter the river. We did have some minor seasonal flooding in June. The river got up to 25,100 CFS, which we all know is about average. Nothing to write home about, but we did see a little bit of water enter in a remediated area that is adjacent to the river. It did not impact any of our operations or any of our well field infrastructure, and there was no damage reported. And then at Crescent Junction, we continue to place the tailings and complete compaction. And the project has proposed a new evapotranspirative cover instead of the rock cover for the cell at Crescent Junction. We have been working with NRC and also Legacy Management, and we are hopeful that NRC will respond within the calendar year and we will get that approved. We currently have 139 employees, and looking ahead, we look to continue to ship 4 trains a week, and that will include debris as well. We will continue our groundwater interim action, and we're also working on our final groundwater remedial strategy, and we have several super exciting field investigations that will be going on at the site, which I'm sure you will learn more about shortly. And we also publish our annual site environmental report, which is also known as the ACER, on an annual basis. It comes out in October. And this summarizes all of our public data, including air monitoring for the public, employee exposure, and groundwater data. And that is both on the website and can be found in the library. And I'm happy to report that we have no DOE employee or public exposure exceedances in the last year. And I also wanted to add that we do surface water diversion when needed to protect the habitat, and that was not needed in the last year due to the low river flow. So, any questions?
Thanks, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any
Thank
questions
you.
for Liz? Yeah, awesome. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Barbara, did you have something?
So Mary, I just wanted to very briefly let the commission know that on October 18th, I will be helping to host a tour of the Las Colonias Park area in Grand Junction in coordination with Legacy Management. So we are under the DOE umbrella Office of Environmental Management. Legacy Management is another office under DOE umbrella. We work together. So basically EM cleans up sites, excuse me, and then LM takes care of any long-term monitoring that may be needed. So someday soon, Legacy Management will be here, both at the Crescent Junction site and the Moab site. So, you know, I'm hoping that any commission members who are interested in seeing the Las Colonias Park area might come over on the 18th. This is also, the invitation's also to the City of Moab, the Site Futures Committee, and the Steering Committee, as well as Grand County Commission. And Mary can explain more later why Las Colonias Park is a area that Moab stakeholders might want to look at. Jacques knows as well. He's been over to the site and listened to me many times, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. And again,
Thank
that was October 18th, right? Yeah, perfect.
And I recommend, you know, if you can make it, I recommend it. It's a feel-good field trip. I mean, you get really excited about the possibilities of what we can turn our area into. Plus, they will take us to the Legacy Cabin. Is that house? Which is fascinating. It's where the Manhattan Project was happening in Grand Junction, which is amazing. I had no idea. And so anyway, I hope a lot of people can make it. I also wanted, before I make the motion, to say they, the UMTA project is not required to do an annual statement of compliance. And they volunteer to do that. And we haven't had all agencies we've worked with willing to do that. If you remember right, we had one agency that refused. So we really appreciate that it helps us understand what's happening. So with that, I move to approve the Moab Uranium Mill Tailings Remedial Action Project's 2024 Annual Statement of Continued Compliance.
Thanks, Mary. Bill seconding. All right, a motion on the table from Commissioner McGann, a second from Commissioner Winfield. Any further discussion before we vote on that? And again, I'd add my appreciation to Mary's too. That's, yeah, we know you don't have to do it, and we very much appreciate it, and we love our continued relationship with the project. All right, I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand, say aye. Kevin?
Yes.
All right, and it looks like the motion passes unanimously. So thank you guys. On to agenda item 2, interest and penalty forgiveness for parcel 0400-0025-0091. And let's see, are you presenting this, Chris?
No, I'm just.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is presented by the applicant, I believe, Paul Maynard, and it looks like we have Paul on Zoom, so I will let you speak, Paul. I think you need to unmute yourself, Paul. Yep.
How's that?
There we go. Now we can hear you. Yep. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes. Well, thank you for having me at this meeting. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Yeah, it's been quite a lengthy battle to try to get this resolved, since BLM owns the land and I just have a right of way to have my buildings on it. And in a simple way of explaining it is I didn't realize that the state of Utah takes a couple years to come up with their decision. So in the time that I filed, it took a couple years for the state to get around to hearing, which they agreed that it is personal property and should be taxed that way. So the penalty and interest that I incurred due to what I was kind of told to wait and see, basically wait and see how the dust settles. So I waited, and of course the interest accumulated. So I'm just asking for the forgiveness on the interest and penalties that I incurred while waiting to get the decision.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And Chris, did you want to speak to this from?
I'm here if any commissioners have any questions about it. One thing I will mention is that when taxpayers who have an appeal do pay the taxes, if they are successful in their appeal and they get a reduction, then we refund them their money with interest per state code.
Okay, so the amount in question right now is $766.71. And then what you're saying, there'd be interest on top of that also, or that's the entire amount.
That's penalty and interest.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that Mr. Maynard already paid.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you approve this, then I would be issuing him a refund for that amount.
Okay. Okay.
I move to approve the tax forgiveness of $766.71 for parcel 04-0025-0091.
Mike, second. Okay, so there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Winfield, a second from Commissioner McCurdy. Discussion. Evan, it looked like you had something to add.
I was just unfamiliar with the parcel and was curious where the acres were.
They're at the Westwater exit. They're right there beside the freeway.
Gotcha. Thanks for that.
And I was wondering, would Debbie potentially weigh in on this as the assessor?
So Mr. Maynard's appeal was about the valuation.
Okay.
But that's been settled by the state.
Okay.
And so he won his appeal and got a reduction in the valuation. And after that was applied, then he paid the taxes that were due after that reduction.
Okay.
But there was penalty and interest because the taxes had gone.
Right. Okay.
So Chris, if I'm understanding correctly, if Mr. Maynard had been paying the taxes those years, we would have issued a refund and ended up at close to the same place we will end up if we forgive the penalties and interest. Kind of a similar outcome.
We would pay back the difference between the tax he owed and the tax he should have owed after the appeal, and then we do pay back the statutorily required interest on that. So is the interest that he accumulated for having delinquent taxes the same as the interest we would have paid him back? Probably not exactly the same, because it's different state code determining the
Okay.
rates, but yeah.
Fairly close.
I haven't done that calculation to see how close it would be, but
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. All right, thank you. We will move on to agenda item 3, approving property tax deferrals. And this is back to Chris.
thank you. So I'm presenting some property tax deferrals, which I bring to you every year. Every year I'm required to identify for the clerk auditor those parcels which have back taxes that are 5 years delinquent. Those parcels are eligible for tax sale, where the property would be sold at auction, and then the taxes would be recouped that way. The public auction is something that is we try to avoid for the interest of the taxpayer and the county, and so it's been common practice in Grant County and many other counties for someone who it's their first year that they're eligible for tax sale to give them some additional time to pay. And I will say that every year we start off with, a few parcels that are in this boat. Most of them we work hard to get them paid off, and sometimes there are a few folks who can't quite make it by the deadline. This year we have 2 parcels that did apply for a deferral in order to get more time and to avoid the tax sale. The total is about $34,000 in back taxes and penalty and interest between the 2 parcels. State code does give the county commission the authority to make these kind of deferrals. It's important to note that interest will continue to accumulate on these back taxes. We're not forgiving any of that. We're just giving them more time. And it's also important to note that if they don't get it paid by the time the taxes are due this year, then this year's current taxes will also be due in order to redeem their parcel from tax sale for next year.
Great, thank you, Chris.
Oh, last thing I wanted to mention, I apologize for not getting this to the commission in June, which I normally do before the tax sale deadline. But if the commission decide to deny these, there is still a route through a court action to foreclose on the properties and sell them to recoup the taxes.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
So again, we're just deferring this. We're not forgiving anything, correct? We're just trying to help them get caught up on this. So I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bill.
I move to approve the property tax deferrals as presented.
Great. And a second from Mary. So motion to approve the deferrals as presented from Commissioner Winfield, second from Commissioner McGann. Any further questions on this one? All right, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Yes.
Was that a yes, Kevin?
Yes.
Thank you. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, we have agenda item 4, contract with Neighborhood Power Incorporated for a solar farm at the airport. And Tammy, our airport director, is presenting this.
So at the last meeting, Bill Holly,
You're welcome to come up, Bill, if you want to share the
Uh,
table with Tammy. Okay.
he presented the project that we're seeking to move forward with. This is a solar farm at the airport. That is a purchase agreement. So the company will come in, set up the solar farm, and it will power all of our county buildings at the airport at a cost savings. Our cents per kilowatt would be 7.4, which is a flat rate for the next 25 years. And no matter what Rocky Mountain Power, how their rates fluctuate, ours will stay the same. And so that estimated savings would be $276,353 cumulative over a 25-year period. There was some sample contracts attached to the agenda summary. They're not finalized yet, but what we're asking for tonight is to be able to, so I would like to kind of alter that recommendation. Well, maybe the contracts, what they need to do is permission to move forward so that they can apply for the REAP grants, which are due at the end of September. So we're seeking that approval tonight to move forward with this project. And when we do have the contracts finalized, we'll bring those to the commission. But tonight we would like that okay to move forward with this project so that they can apply for the REAP grants. So
Okay, Stephen?
So,
Yeah,
either way.
I was gonna say, so you're saying with the motion, it wouldn't be a motion to, I move to contract, because we're not contracting now. We're giving you our go-ahead to move forward so that they can apply for grants.
yes, they're
Just a little bit of correction, sorry. We do need to sign it. Sign the contract. If they can't get the grants, then the contract.
Okay.
They're asking to sign the contract.
So the contract's pending the grants coming through.
Well, in the contract, it says if the grants don't come through.
Right, got it. Okay. Stephen?
So from my position, I know this is something that the commission is very excited about this idea, very excited about this opportunity. The concern that I have is the way in which this was just kind of came to the commission. Normally we put out a bid, people come, answer the bid, and then process it that way. This is something that I think commissioners would love to see. I think people are really excited. And so we kind of deviated from the standard practice of, we want this particular service, let's put out information, let's get 17 bids, or give the kind of the window for bids to apply. And we didn't do that here. And it might look like, and it is, a saving in some way, but also there's not rent associated with this. So what you're looking at is roughly, $10,000, $11,000 per year that we save over 25 years, which equates to about $1,000 a month, and they get free rent. So there's some real big implications, and I understand this is, again, it's something everybody wants, but I would recommend maybe pumping the brakes, allowing commission admin, and when I've talked about this briefly, about maybe putting out a proposal, put it out for a short period of time. I know that they want to get the REAP grant processed as quickly as possible, but I think putting this out for an RFP, a minimum of 7 days, and then having people apply, or likely maybe nobody applies. But if we put it out for that bid, at least we can say, hey, look, we put it out for bid. This is our standard process. And then if no one else applies, then I feel much more comfortable with how it kind of originated and came to be. I have not reviewed the contract. It's 40 pages long, and it's really going to be a bit more onerous on the county because it's a 25-year lease. And this is a big deal. When you let somebody come into your land for a long period of time, normally we run background checks just like in a house. We want to make sure that this is going to be a good partner for the county. And we've only just met. And I'm not saying we shouldn't move in together, but it seems really, really quick. And especially for something that they're going to apply for a grant. There's a lot of questions about what do we do with the, there's a lot of questions on how we handle the materials after the fact, and are they fixtures? Do they get them, or do we get them? And there's a lot of things that likely the county's going to want to negotiate on more than just cheaper electricity. This is quite a wonderful opportunity for the provider because they get a guaranteed 25 years, which that's something that another entity may look at the county and say, wow, you gave that awesome guaranteed benefit for that long period of time and didn't have it open to the public. So I haven't reviewed the contract. It moved really quick. I would encourage the commission to figure out what our exact timelines for them to apply for this grant is. Open up an RFP for a chunk of time, at least 7 days, maybe a little bit longer. Have them apply, have whoever else apply. Then we get it approved before that REAP grant time so that they can apply for the grant, whoever gets it, and then we can approve it feeling more comfortable. So that's what my recommendation is. And I invite Quinn to add on because they handle much more of the purchasing policy than I normally do, but that's what my recommendation is.
Great, thank you, Stephen. Let me go to Commissioner Winfield here really
Yeah.
quick.
Could I just address two things that Stephen brought up?
Okay.
The, in this contract, it does address, the who gets what at the end of.
After 25 years,
Yeah,
all the infrastructure that's put in and other.
Yeah, it outlines who's responsible for maintenance, who's, what happens to everything after 25 years.
Okay.
Options to buy out. I haven't picked it apart, but I've read through it. The only thing missing is the site lease. So there would be a lease for the property. They're not just getting a chunk of land. They would be paying the 50 cents per square foot, just like everybody else at the airport. As far as that's concerned. And then, sorry to interrupt, Bill,
No,
but
no,
I wanted,
but-
there was a
Glad,
lot of that
because
in there. so-
That clarified the ground lease for all of us, so I'm glad
Yes.
that you brought that forward. My question is, Bill, do you have time or do they have time for us to do a 7-day lease RFP? Because really we're talking 1 week. Is that going to hurt our chances on this one? Or it makes a lot of sense what Stephen is saying. Legally, we don't want somebody to come back in the future and say, listen, I would have preferred to bid on that project also.
Yeah. Grants are issued like the next quarter.
Could somebody move the microphone over toward Bill?
So the grants that they're talking about are issued by quarter, or given by quarter, and so if we miss this quarter, then there's the next quarter. So, the answer to the question is, now, there is a set amount of money that's allocated in each quarter. And so if the window closes on the year, our chances become less of getting that. But I would like to speak to what Stephen said about our procedures. Our purchasing procedure, in my reading of it, is pretty clear that it doesn't need to go out for bid. And I don't see where an item that costs less than $50,000 has to go out for bid. It clearly says that they don't have to. Now, if we're gonna think about things like that, then we ought to send things out for bid. If a department head wants to buy something, they can sign for that much, without a bid. But if they want to go, now we're saying that, say they want to go out and get a bid for groups want to just do some maintenance that costs less than a capital item and sign a contract with somebody, say for trash or for some other thing. then that, well, we're setting a precedent here perhaps now that everything, no matter how big it is, needs to go out for bid. That's what my concern is we're not really following our own policy.
Oh, I'm
Jacques,
sorry,
I don't
Kevin.
know
Yeah,
if you can see me, but I have my hand up too.
great. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, so I mean, I certainly appreciate all the work that Bill Hawley and Tammy have put into this, but I think Stephen makes some very good points that this is a large contract over a large number of years, and we need to think about it and get some it needs to be scrutinized carefully, and I definitely don't think it's the sort of thing that should be rushed. So I definitely, thank you very much, Stephen, for bringing up those points. I agree with what you say. So far, everything I've heard about this sounds reasonable, but it would, if there's another company that's offering an even better deal, I don't know. I mean, sometimes one gets surprised and things that initially look really promising turn out to be not as good. And I think it just makes sense given the size of what's being proposed that we, take time to look at it from different angles. So I support Stephen's recommendation.
Thanks, Kevin. Mary?
Bill, I'm trying to remember, when you were investigating this, I remember right when I met with you that you talked to other companies, is that true? And none of them were interested? So,
We have one other one that's interested in a standard lease arrangement, which is just a purchase to buy kind of thing. In which we pay them so much in a lease kind of thing. This is a power purchase agreement, which is an entirely different thing than a lease agreement. So we need to, make sure we don't get, if we write a RFQ, we need to talk about a PPA and not a lease agreement. Because we have a lease agreement, we can find companies that will essentially, a lease agreement is essentially a financing option where they'll provide the money for a certain amount of interest and sell us the system, if you will. So that's not what we're talking about here. That's why this is zero cost, is because it's a power purchase agreement opposed to a site lease for farmers.
did you talk to any other companies that had that same type of power
Yes,
purchase?
I did. I've talked to about 8 different companies. I can provide the list, but perhaps, Stephen's right. We would have went out for a bid, we would have got the same results. But I don't know that. In talking to the others, I asked for proposals along these lines from all of them, and most of them are much larger. Typically, these kinds of things are huge projects with, many megawatt type plants. And so the idea that this is this small really doesn't appeal to most of the companies.
See, to me, going out and talking to 8 companies and asking them to give proposals and not getting any information back to them in many ways is like,
It wasn't formal. It's just me talking. Right?
yeah, but yet only one company responded.
Stephen?
Just one other point. I think the tricky thing here also is the terms. It's not just reaching out to them, it's by what terms we're agreeing to. If they get the land for 50 cents, but they also get to be able to provide electricity to others. That's the part where and I know, Mr. Hawley, you've done hard work on this. It just makes it more difficult because then somebody says, well, he called, and it kind of just questions the whole thing. And I think if you put it out for bid, then it cleans everything up. You do 7 days. If these grants are quarterly, ultimately it's the commission's decision. And I understand that. I'm just looking at the optics of it, where this could be a really wonderful company, and that's, we want to make sure that nobody else can, walk out and point and say, well, they got an unfair deal.
Thanks. Mike?
This deal sounds great. Especially at 7.4 cents. As a homeowner, I wish I was paying that. But I don't see 7 days, it going out to for 7 more days. Is it going to kill the deal? Like, in your guys' best opinion, is 7 days going to? I mean, in realistic times.
Are you asking if the company might pull out if we do put it?
Yeah,
out to bid?
is it, is
Do
the
you think-
company going to be affected by 7 days?
Regulations for us going out with a bid request. How long does that be posted?
7 days.
Or Quinn wanted to weigh in on this.
I guess I kind of defer to Stephen on this. Purchasing policy says purchases over $50,000 require a competitive sealed bidder solicitation. And so, what's the definition of a purchase? That's up to the attorney. And then all procurements of goods that are reasonably anticipated to exceed $50,000 shall require a sealed bid. So, I mean, again, I would defer to the attorney on the definition of procurement of goods. Does that qualify? And then I think that the meat of purchasing policies and the purpose is to provide an open, accountable, and efficient policy that ensures public money is spent to the greatest public benefit and value. And so, again, that's like language I would defer to the attorney on. I think that it's up to the attorney and you guys. I don't care. I will say that 7 days, I'm not an engineer. Alicia, we found a sample PPA request for bids, and Alicia plugged some stuff into it that was based on their scope of work. So we've got a real rough RFP kind of template right now. I'm not an engineer, so the idea, I'm going to be upfront. The idea that we can put this out to bid tomorrow that's pie in the sky. Right. We need to have this reviewed by somebody that knows what they're talking about, that knows what the benefits and all the requirements of the RFP would be. And realistic timeline would be a week to 10 days for us to do the paperwork and then put it out for 7 days after that. That's realistic.
So we're probably looking at another.
The realistic part of it is if a company's gonna bid on this, they're gonna have to do a site review.
Right, sure.
And,
It's gonna take them a while to come back to us.
Engineering study, and I think that if we're really gonna do this, it'll take months.
Yeah.
Together.
That seems reasonable, right?
Because these companies have to engineer, at least do a rough engineering work to do it, and this company has.
Bill?
I want to clarify because Stephen mentioned that they could be selling power to others. And I don't think that's the case here, correct? This is 100% power going to the airport. And our rate is fixed with that. They aren't putting in a farm that they can sell power to somebody down the road to.
I guess that's just, if we expand, is it just enough to cover the airport's electricity needs now? But if the airport expands, is there a provision for that? They can add panels that would, gotcha.
Yeah. And Jacques, I have my hand up whenever it's my turn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please, Kevin.
Sorry, was I interrupting Bill? Or?
No, go ahead.
I do think, we're talking about several related things at once now, but one really basic thing is, Stephen said he had not carefully read this contract yet. I think for something of this size and importance, I would like him to have the, time to go over it carefully. So, that by itself makes me not want to, just jump in and commit to this right now. I certainly think we should continue to pursue it. And then I think Quinn was making this point as well. Maybe this, because this isn't technically a purchase, then it doesn't fit into our RFP framework. But I think that, for the same reasons that large purchases, we want to do an RFP and send it out to bid and take a little bit more time to consider it. I think, we should do the same for this, whether or not it technically, meets the criteria of the purchasing policy. I just think it's common sense to do that. I think, if this is like a 25-year contract, waiting, 3 months till the next grant cycle does not seem like it should be a big deal. And then I guess the final point, and the reason I especially want to be cautious here is, I think, going to UAC meetings and being in local government, there's often a real imbalance of information between vendors who come to local government saying, hey, we've got a good deal on electric car chargers, or we get offered all these deals, but we're not really in a position to assess how good it is. And so I think for, if this were just purchasing yet another dump truck for the road department, I think we kind of know how that goes, but this is something that's new to the county and we should take time to research it.
Great, thanks. Bill?
Yeah, I'm curious, maybe there's some misconception here, but this didn't come about from a UAC meeting. This came about from a whole lot of hard work on Mr. Holly's part. There's a big difference.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but I wasn't clear. I was just making an analogy to the car chargers with the UAC meeting where we delayed our other car charger plans. This has nothing to do with UAC and nothing to do with the car chargers, but it's similar in that, the county is sort of entering into contracts in areas that it doesn't really have much expertise.
Right, I understand your analogy.
I'd like to make one more point, and that is that we enter into contracts all the time. We have a contract with Rocky Mountain Power to provide power for us. This is actually very similar to that. Our contract with Rocky Mountain Power is forever. And so the idea that there's for providing power is a short-term contract, it is not. It's a forever contract. So I just make that.
Thank you, Bill.
I agree with Bill on this point. It's a unique distinction where if we built a new building up the wheat shed or something and had power connected to it, we wouldn't go out to bid for that. We might go out to bid for the building, but like
Sure.
power, we would
Yeah.
just assume.
Totally, yeah.
I just think it's a gray area. That's my only real comment.
Yeah, it's definitely a gray area. I would have, it would have been nice if we had like a document from the airport board saying, hey, we're interested in this. We heard from this company, they weren't, and we kind of had the three things documented that was like, oh, this is why this is the best choice. But we're just kind of seeing that there's a little bit of head scratching of why this is the best choice. I also agree that without the money up front or without a big cost involved, it's kind of putting us into this gray area. There were some local experts that after the last meeting had kind of reached out and said that they were willing to review the contract. And I think it's not so much about like the cost or even the commitment, but because it is kind of new territory for us, like that we just want to be sure that we're getting the best deal, the best arrangement, whether it's money or whatever that's out there and that's possible. And so I'm leaning towards the comfort of just postponing to do our due diligence. And I kind of feel like this was a similar conversation from the last meeting, but a 25-year contract is a big commitment, and if there are better options out there, it'd be nice to know about them. And if there's not, then we can be confident that there's not. So if it's not that time sensitive, I'm leaning towards postponing. If there is some time sensitivity towards it, I do see the gray area, and I think that it wouldn't be necessarily wrong to enter into it now. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Evan. I missed the last meeting, so it just seems like a great deal. I'm all for solar energy. I have them on all my personal buildings. I think it's great, but I would also tend to defer to the attorney on this as well, because I think that's, yeah, I don't know.
I think one other point is, this is a lot of this stuff. I don't have the knowledge of all the intricacies of a solar farm. And I don't know that the commission, I mean, we can go buy certain things that we don't know how the inner workings of it all works. But I think we're going to have it on our property for a set period of time. It would be good to educate ourselves about kind of that process. And maybe rely on somebody to be able to have a conversation about the ins and outs a little bit, because I want the commission to be able to enter into a contract with full knowledge about what it all entails.
And I know this discussion's been on the books for a long time. I remember when Bill gave us a presentation, I think it was 2 years ago.
It was
We were
before.
in favor of it then, so I do understand that you guys have done a ton of strong work on this, and I honestly would feel comfortable with the terms. But Bill's on the airport board too. I'd ask you if there was any concern there, big thumbs up or.
Well, the airport board's 100% behind this, and that's, when you mention a document, whatever, from the airport board, that really was what his presentation was that he brought forward. Was
Okay.
The airport board saying,
Yeah.
this
Right.
is what we're trying to get behind.
Because it was mentioned in the presentation that the airport board was behind it.
Okay.
I don't see this as rushing into it. So we have been working on this for almost since I've been on the commission. And we have looked at so many options. We've met with so many people, and I don't see it as rushing into it, and where it's a gray area, myself, I'm comfortable with moving forward.
Steven, is there a common out that we could add into the contract so that they could move forward with grant applications and then have us like pending final review or whatever?
I think I think there's an ability to structure, there is an ability to structure some sort of agreement to do that. In the contract, again, I didn't get a look through it. I'm looking through it now. There are some ways to get out of the contract shorter than the 25 years. I think less than signing the contract, I think maybe the commission could indicate that they're willing to agree to this proposal. They'd like to see it go forward. I'm just thinking of, they're saying, I mean, what's being presented is they're saying the only way that they can proceed forward is if we sign this contract. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I know that they could probably be more comfortable doing that, but people oftentimes make applications for different things and then later catch up with the contract. So that's where my hesitation is on a lot of this, is it's just kind of faster in my perception.
If this were like very routine, then I might feel comfortable signing the contract without having the county attorney look at it, but it's very far from routine, and I don't think it's a good idea to proceed with this without the county attorney having time to review it.
Right. I believe anyone's made a motion, or we haven't, we're still in ceremony, sorry. So we're all looking at each other.
So one thing we could do is just postpone it, and then staff and the county attorney can work on something for the next meeting to, find the right way to proceed. And I do think it's a sense of the commission, we're all interested in pursuing this. We just want to pursue it at the correct pace and checking all the correct boxes. So.
And in terms of at the next meeting, are we looking for comparables from offers from other companies, or is it just combing through the contract? And because it sounds like that might be a little rushed to try to pull off in a couple of weeks in terms of getting bids or proposals.
I'm sorry, but for me, at a minimum, I want Stephen to have time to look at the contract, not just during the meeting. And I think we might also, one easy thing we could do is, we received an offer of consultation from a community member who does this kind of thing. We might at least hear what they have to say. And if we want to, in addition to that, go through a formal RFP, I guess I don't have, my feelings on that are not as strong. So, but if we were to postpone it till next week, that would give staff time to decide whether that would make sense or not. So. But I just want Stephen to read the contract.
Yeah, I think if I have my wish list, it'd be RFP and more time for contract review. If the commission feels comfortable about this, just a little bit of time to have a communication with the company that drafted the contract, talk with them a little bit, and then I'd like to reach out to at least an engineer, somebody else that does these things, so I can look for things where there's issues. Normally when an attorney deals with these issues more frequently, they can say, oh, you've got to watch for this, or how they raise rates, or what their liability is, and go through some of those things. I think I could do that in 2 weeks. I think I could get back to it and we could look at this again. I'm just pointing out, the transparency of it and the contract, but I would love 2 weeks with the contract, and that's pretty quick.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I know Mr. Knight reached out to us as an expert in this field. I'm sure all he is a phone call away. I've got his number. If anybody else wants to, let's at least get him to review it. He could give us the go ahead. I mean, if you have something for him to review, Quinn, also, and then we could kill both. Well, kill two birds with one stone. Maybe that's a bad way to look at it, but we could accomplish both of these goals between now and the next meeting. I would think that it would be fairly easy for him to do. And I'm more than willing to reach out to him unless somebody else has a better relationship, but.
We know the total coverage. What's the acreage of the solar farm? What's the acreage of the solar farm that it will cover at the airport?
Oh, it's about a half an acre.
Half an acre?
Half an acre? Okay,
It's not very big.
right. Okay, Mary?
I'll make a motion that we can postpone this until the next meeting. I really want it brought back up at the next meeting, giving Steve an opportunity to and I stop there with my motion. I'll discuss it later. I make a motion, we postpone this until the next meeting. Today is the 6th, so that'd be the 20th, correct?
That'd be correct, yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we postpone this agenda item until the 20th of August. And at that time, we will have our county attorney would have had the opportunity to review the contract.
Okay, Mike seconding, so motion to postpone till next meeting, second from Commissioner McCurdy. Call for a vote, all those in favor of postponing, raise your hands.
Yes.
And it looks like that passes unanimously. All right, thank you very much, Bill, appreciate your work on this, and
I know we
Tammy
just
as well.
voted, But
Bill?
could somebody, whether that's through the airport or our office, reach out to these folks and just let them know it's pending legal review and expert review or whatever, and then
I've already put Stephen in contact with
Okay.
with the company, and I suspect that could you do that for us?
yeah.
And I'm drafting right now an email to Mr. Knight. I've picked Commissioner McGann, Commissioner Winfield, and Commissioner Walker to join me on the, actually, I can put all of you on it because the new changes in OPA, or Grandma. No, OPA, sorry, it's OPA. But I'll throw you guys all on the same email chain with Mr. Knight, just requesting his assistance.
And could you send Quinn the company's names that you contacted that did not respond to your request?
Sure.
I think that would help. I think if we had this many companies were contacted and only this company responded, I think that's a big deal. And so, and I think it would help cover the need to do an RFP.
Okay, thank you.
Just to take it down the road. Or should I send that to everyone, or should I
Just send it to Quinn
If
and
it goes to
Stephen.
Quinn, it goes to all. Yeah.
send it to all?
Q Hall.
I do that. Yeah.
Okay,
Send it to Quinn and maybe
So-
Stephen.
yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thanks, Tammy. All right, we're on to agenda, or actually, we're on to citizens to be heard. It's after 6 o'clock, so this is our second citizens to be heard session. Is there anyone here in the chamber who hasn't already spoken who would like to come forward and make a statement? Is there anybody on Zoom who is here to be heard as a citizen? Is that okay? All right, we'll move forward then, and we are on to agenda item 5, Planning Commission member appointment. And Aaron, are you the Planning Commission representative tonight?
I am.
Welcome. So Aaron Lindberg will be our presenter.
Hi, yeah, we had an open spot and we had 3 candidates for our planning commission. Like always, they're awesome. We I think everybody wish we could have all 3. Laura, who we recommend appointing on a 4-to-1 vote. I think we'll kind of round out our debates. One thing I think is interesting is we'll have kind of like, we like to parse things out at planning commission, and I think we'll have like a wider stages of life. We got older people, younger people, and different points of view that will be, I think, the more points of view that we can hash out there. So that's our recommendation, is to appoint her. And the Obi put in a letter in your agenda packet.
Yep, got it. Yeah, Mary?
I move to approve the appointment of Laura Long to serve on the Grand County Planning Commission with a term expiring December 31st, 2025, very soon.
Okay. Got a motion from Mary and a second from Evan. Thanks. And discussion, this is a replacement appointment, right? Who was the commissioner? What was?
McKenna.
Oh, McKenna. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah. I was just trying to put that together when I was reading through my packet earlier. Thanks, Aaron. Yes, Stephen.
One thing I just always remind folks about, so for the planning commission, they have unique rules regarding conflicts of interest and removal of themselves from topics. So if you had somebody that was particularly involved with a certain topic or a certain area, they would be, depending on their external or their work or other things, they'd be conflicted off of anything that involves those particular issues. So I just note that that's something that comes up every once in a while. People get really excited. For example, if I was on the commission and I was really excited at this commission, I was really excited about public defender stuff, and I also wanted to be it, there creates conflicts. So I just note that and want to give a reminder and a heads up about that.
Totally understand, Stephen, and I think that would apply to every commissioner and planning commissioner that's.
Yes. Yep. Right. Well, actually, yeah, except for the planning commission has more different rules on expert communication and communications.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they've done a commendable job in managing that. I think, knowing that commissioners have been recipients of the HDHO and, there's been other developers on there, and kudos to that commission and board for managing those conflicts of interest throughout the years.
And it looks like in this particular case, the applicants highlighted her particular conflict of interest as well. So we know where we're standing.
Right, and that's the awesome thing of it. The more full disclosure, that's really, really helpful for everyone that's dealing with it, and especially certain topics when the county finds themselves on, under scrutiny for particular things. It's really important to highlight that and make sure that that's followed.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Mike, is that your hand up?
A little bit here.
Okay.
What was planning commission's thoughts? The defining point. Why you went with her instead of?
We actually did a secret ballot this time. We usually don't. So, other than their discussion about the questions we asked them, one of the things, I'll put this on there, all three of the candidates read the general code. That was the first time that's ever happened. I was like, usually I'm like, or general plan. That impressed me. And I can speak for myself. I think that having, not that age matters. I feel like having somebody that we have, everybody on the planning commission now is a current homeowner. She's younger and she doesn't. And I would like, I kind of went on that viewpoint for nominating her. The other two candidates, AJ and Janine, I mean, they're all stars too, but I just thought that it widened our discussion. So yeah.
Can I ask you? You said secret ballot. What do you mean?
I didn't know who. Like, we all signed our names.
Okay.
On a thing and then gave it to Obi. I don't know if it was a recorded individual. I'm sorry. Yeah, I might have got stuck my foot in it. So like always.
It was a write-in ballot.
A write-in ballot
Yeah.
instead of calling for a hand
Not
vote, right?
secret.
Yes.
The write-in ballot.
That's
It's
it.
an ignorant ballot. I was ignorant.
I was
watching Stephen actively freaking out.
I was texting a couple of attorneys about OPMA violations.
Not secret.
Yeah, okay, not secret ballots. Great. Okay, perfect.
I know we can't negotiate either. So that was another.
I see what you're saying. Not a show of hands. but-
Yeah, no, I
right.
had no clue who voted what.
Yeah,
So
got
I'm
it.
sure I could have asked, but
Okay.
I didn't. So.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? I think we have a strong precedent of going with the recommendation from the Planning Commission for their particular representation. So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
Yes.
Abstain. All right. All opposed. Okay. And so it looks like we have a 4-1 vote with Commissioner Winfield in opposition and Commissioner McCurdy abstaining. So the motion passes 4-1. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 6, stoplight at Aggie Boulevard and Highway 191. And the presenter on this one is Commissioner Winfield. And I will turn it over to Mary in just a second. So, let's run.
Yeah, so we're just looking for what the commission has already given a thumbs up on this, but for a little bit of background, we have got 5 people so far who have agreed to participate in the stoplight at Aggie Boulevard. And that starts with USU, who has a presence up there, then the developer GWC, who's building beside USU, has agreed to buy in. City of Moab has agreed to buy in. Sitla has agreed to buy in, and we've tentatively given a thumbs up at Grand County, so we need to vote on that tonight. And then there is one other developer, and I have a meeting with them tomorrow with the possibility that we'll get a 6th individual, and that's the developer that's on the, what is that, the east side of 191, Red Rock Partners there, because they too will benefit from having a light there. So we're kind of spreading that pain all around. UDOT thinks that it's probably 8 to 10 years before the traffic study would warrant a light there. So by all of our participation, we're moving that forward. And I think we all can agree, if we've driven out of there at all once, that just one accident would more than cover for the replace or the cost of putting this light in there, and we don't want that one accident to happen. So it's already moving forward. I just have one further to tie up, but you don't.
Will that decrease everyone's contribution slightly?
No, I'm asking them to
Okay.
contribute to the same amount, yes. And that's $50,000 from each participant at this point, of which there are 5 if we vote today. Any
So in other words,
questions?
if there are more participants, it saves UDOT money, but it doesn't save the county money.
Correct.
Okay.
The estimate from UDOT for that stoplight is somewhere between $500,000 and $750,000, and they'll know more. They are moving forward and going to put that out to bid, but currently we don't have an exact number yet.
So I could make a motion unless you want to, Bill.
No, feel free.
Okay, I move to approve Grand County's commitment of $50,000 for the installation of a streetlight at Aggie Boulevard.
Motion by Kevin Walker, seconded by
Bill's got it.
Mike McCurdy. Any further discussion?
Just to be the devil's advocate, I was talking with some folks about this, and they were kind of on the UDOT side that it's inevitable that it'll be needed at some point, but now it might impede the flow of traffic more than anything to have another light there. And so
Is it? Okay, go ahead.
I think it's a good idea, but just for the record, I wanted to get that in the minutes.
I have a question. Do you know, Bill, is it going to be like the one that's at the river where it's going to be sensitive, like it's going to stay green, like, and like the one at the Shell station where, so it's not going to be on a timer, but like when there's the sensor says somebody's waiting to cross or pass, then it goes?
And I
Because then
can't answer
it wouldn't impede the
which way
traffic.
that it is going to happen there, but I do know that, as Evan says, it will impede traffic, which a lot of people in that area are looking forward to, because it will change the speed limit for whatever distance,
From the light.
especially for the downhill traffic coming there to that light. Why it will slow people down further out to the south, so which is a favorable thing also in my mind.
As a resident, less than 100 feet away, I'm okay with the impediment of traffic, slightly slowing down there. I'm within 80 feet of this, roughly, 2 housing lots, and I've spent a lot of my personal time hauling and running on the road, but the people setting land speed records there don't need to be, in my eyes.
Yeah, I know that's been a problem intersection for a long time. I actually bike up the path towards the university sometimes on just a quick road ride and getting across that highway there is definitely sketchy, to say the least. So sketchy.
I'd like to add too, I mean, I think it's extremely commendable that everybody to date that has been asked has agreed to participate in this cost, because there's no reason that they had to. They're all stepping up because they see the value of what this is gonna do with the possibility of just one accident. And it doesn't have to be a fatal one. It could be any accident we wanna prevent coming out of there, so.
Mike?
I don't mean to knock the UDOT guys, but I've never seen any action taken this fast on 10 years. I mean, that's about what we see on streetlights and stuff, so. Yeah, never seen it done this fast, and I'm impressed.
Yeah,
Thanks for all the work there, Bill.
Yeah, I was gonna give kudos and commend Commissioner Whitfield on the work on this and bringing all those stakeholders together.
All right, any further discussion? I believe there's a motion on the table to approve in a second, so I'll now call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
Yes.
All right, and that passes unanimously. Thank you, guys. On to agenda item 7, consideration of financial consultant services independent contractor agreement with Forvis LLP. I don't have a presenter on this one.
I guess I can
Okay, Kevin.
do it, but Bill should feel free to jump in whenever he likes, and Trish is the other person on the audit committee. So you may recall from past discussions that our audit committee bylaws call for a consulting financial expert. In the past, this has been sort of informally combined with the internal auditor role. We're now looking to have a separate one. This was sent out for bid. We got 3 bids. One was from the same firm that does our internal audit and has applied for other things in the county. So the more other roles they have, the less independent they are. So that was a reason to not go with them. And then there were 2 other more or less national firms, but the one we ended up recommending, Forvis, does have offices in Salt Lake. So that's where we ended up.
All right, great. Anything to add to that, Bill?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move to approve the financial consultant service independent contractor agreement with Forvis LLP.
Great, thank you.
Yes,
Next second. Okay, I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Winfield, second from Commissioner McCurdy. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Mike, were you? Okay,
Watching that meeting, it looks like someone good to be going with.
great. All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hands. And that passes unanimously with Commissioner Clapper absent. We will move on to agenda item 8, resolution repealing and replacing the purchasing policy. And this one is our Commission Associate Administrator Quinn.
This is a one-line change in the purchasing policy. It says the purchasing agent shall be the commission administrator. This moves it to the clerk auditor or designee. If you remember, originally Diana was the purchasing agent and Chris briefly was. Then Chris went to the administrator, took the budget with him. He was then also the purchasing agent. We changed it. That's when Mallory wrote the purchasing policy. Was while Chris was the administrator, he was the purchasing agent. Then Chris moved out. It's landed on Mallory, but now that we've got the clerk's office fully staffed, I think it's appropriate to put it back in the clerk's office. The administrator's office is obviously willing to help in whatever capacity they can. I just think that it cleans it up and makes it more aligned with state law, where the purchasing and budgeting duties land in the clerk's office.
Yep, Bill?
Yeah, I move to adopt the resolution repealing and replacing the purchasing policy.
Thank you. Second from Mike. All right, motion to approve from Commissioner Winfield, second from Commissioner McCurdy. Any other discussion on this one? I think this move makes sense too. So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
yes.
And that passes unanimously. All right, thank you. We're on to our consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight consists of agenda item A, approval of meeting minutes for May 30th, July 3rd, July 16th, 2024, and corrected meeting minutes for November 28th, 2023. ratification of payment of bills. Those total bills are the amount of $1,730,994.66. Total payroll, the amount of $790,568.42 for total bills of payroll, the amount of $2,521,563.08. Item C, emergency management updated line of succession. Item D, local single event alcohol permit for the Utah Avalanche Center. Item E, Children's Justice Center, that's CJC, state contract amendment for fiscal year 2025, as well as item F, 2024-2025 renewal agreement with GovOS for short-term rental compliance and TRT tracking software. Evan?
Just a matter of disclosure, in the past, I have been an employee, volunteer observer that has been reimbursed and an instructor for the Utah Avalanche Center.
Okay.
And so with that, I just want to get that out in the open, but I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. And second from Mike. So motion to approve from Commissioner Clapper, second from Commissioner McCurdy. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hands. And the motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Winfield absent. All right, we've come to the end of our action items. We are on to our public hearings. Let me get my place here. The first public hearing is public hearing to rezone rural residential to small lot residential at 570 River Sands Road. And it looks like let's see, it looks like Bryce is presenting. Is she online? She just walked out. Just here.
Just there a second ago.
Yeah. You want to try to
Presenting all of these.
Oh, Alicia went to look for it. Okay, sounds good. All right, and she's probably presenting the next one as well, I'd assume, right? Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's also Alicia.
Yeah. I know. River Sands is down 4th North. That's my road. It's down at the end of that. That's what's the housing development on the south side of 4th North, and this one looks like it's over on the north side. Oh.
Everybody have a phone? Wayne, do you have her email and her cell phone?
It's on it.
And she's planning on doing it. She talked to me about it.
It's who can. Oh, Aaron? Is Aaron still up there? If you could ask him, I'd be surprised if we could, but
Well,
but-
maybe she's.
I mean, I can.
was here
I
and
can start
was
reading
planning-
background if you want to.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
Public hearings, right?
We're just opening the public hearing. Yeah, we're not getting into the full. Yeah. Okay. I can read the background as well if you want. All right, I'll read the. So do we have the lot number? Okay, so it is. The application is for a general rezone request of a 0.19 acre parcel of land located at 570 River Sands Road from rural residential to small lot residential. The applicant proposes to build a single family dwelling on the lot. And it looks like the planning commission forwarded a favorable recommendation to the county commission in a public meeting on July 22nd, 2024. And then attached, there's a couple of attachments, including the map, the boundary survey, the applicant narrative.
For just information, it's Grand County parcel number
Right.
03-0035-0045. And the adjustment would be from small lot residential zoning district. What it would be, amending to.
Amended to small lot residential, right?
Correct.
Which would enable them to put an extra.
And it borders the city limits.
My understanding, yes.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks. I would have assumed it was in the city, but obviously it's not. All right. I guess I mean, all the information is in the packet. If anyone wants to look at the packet, we can do that. Yep. So I will now open this public hearing. The public hearing will remain into effect until Wednesday, the 14th of August at 5 p.m. And with that, is there anyone here who would like to make a comment as to this particular piece of property being rezoned? Anyone on Zoom who would like to comment? All right, it looks like not, so I will leave this public hearing open again until next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Please feel free to email commission@grandcountyutah.net to submit comment, and we will get back to this at our next commission meeting. Sure, Stephen. I'll go ahead and read that. Anyway, so this next one, public hearing to rezone range and grazing to rural residential at 68 North King Street in Thompson Springs. And I'll turn it over to our county attorney to read the background.
The application is for a general rezone request of a 2.22 acre parcel of land located at 68 North King Street, Thompson Springs, from range and grazing to rural residential. The applicant proposes future subdivision creating two 1 acre lots, which would be smaller than the permitted minimum lot size for the existing zone district. The applicant has processed the rezone application in accordance with state and county regulations. This is Grand County parcel number 07-0021-0153.
Thanks, Stephen. And attached are the narratives and the maps associated with that. So anyone who is interested can go to the agenda today and look at those. At this time, I would open up the public hearing to solicit public comment as to this particular rezone. I will keep this public hearing open until next Wednesday, the 14th of August at 5 p.m. And with that, is there anyone here who would like to make comment on this particular rezone? Oh, Nikki from, oh, okay. I think it's fine. Yeah.
They can also email the commission.
Yes. It looks like there's no one here to make comment on that, and there's nobody online to make comment on the Thompson Springs property. So if someone does have a comment, you can email commission@grandcountyutah.net, and that will go into the record, and this will come back at our next commission meeting. All right. Thank you. That is it for our public hearings. It looks like we have reached the end of our regular commission meeting. I would entertain a motion, Mary.
I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss character, professional competency, or physical or mental health of an individual and pending litigation.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, motion to go into closed session from Commissioner McGann and a second from Commissioner Clapper. All those in favor of going into closed session, raise your hands. And the motion passes unanimously. All right.